Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Sorry for the poor picture quality. It's dark. Get the little light on, trying to make it at least somewhat viewable. They say with YouTube videos, it's all about picture quality and audio. So sorry for the picture quality. Busy day again, doing lots of work here in our community. It's not just me, it's several of us. We're all helping each other out do things. We're all planning, training events, all kinds of stuff going on. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about something that many of you are probably going to say, man, you're like some kind of negative Nancy on here, always trying to bring everybody down. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm actually a pretty positive person. I'm trying to get people ready and to brace themselves for what's going to happen. And however bad that you think it's going to be, most likely it's probably going to get worse and be worse than whatever you think it's going to be. There are too many examples throughout history, even recent history. If you just take the last few decades, there's plenty of examples to show that when societies go through something similar to what we're experiencing right now, which by all, definition, it's a collapse. That doesn't mean that the U.S. government will no longer exist, or, that we're going to go back to some kind of very primitive, non-electric feudal system. I mean, that's possible. But what it means is that the way things are now, they're probably going to collapse and fall. And whatever it is in your mind that you think it's going to happen, again, odds are it's probably going to be worse than that. And so when I make these videos talking about this kind of stuff, talking this way, I do it to try to get you ready, get you woke up, get you on your feet, and ready, bracing yourselves for what's coming. I don't know specifically what's coming. I can have a pretty good idea based on what's going on in the world today, based on, history, because it's constantly repeating itself. There's nothing new under the sun. And I think that America's allowed itself to get so big, so overweight. I don't mean that in reference to individuals that are overweight, but just the system. It's so bloated, and it's so heavily dependent on the system. The system is dependent on the system. Businesses are dependent on the system. Individuals are dependent upon the system. Everything and everyone is hyper-dependent upon this big, out-of-control, overgrown, weak system that's falling. And because of that, I think it has the chance of being way worse than things that we've seen in the past, whether it be Venezuela, whether it be the Great Depression here, whether it be, the German Weimar Republic, whatever it is. I think that America has the possibility of being even worse than that. Because never before, and I mean, you could go back to the Roman times, the Roman Empire, and you might be able to come close, but even then those people were way more self-sufficient than we are now. They had maybe the elites weren't, but the average person was capable of, some level of survival. They had some survival skills. People nowadays have virtually none. I'm not talking about going out and building a fire and building a shelter from sticks. I'm talking about real survival skills, that survival mentality that, no matter what happens, you're gonna make it. Very few people in our world today have that mentality. And so because of that, I believe that even if, on a technical sense, we may not collapse or fall down as bad as other times in history, just the fact that everyone is so heavily dependent upon the system that it's going to make things worse. I mean, just take, for example, what do you think would happen? How bad do you think things would be if the cellular network was just shut off one day? And I'm not saying that is going to happen. I'm just saying, play it out in your mind. How many people, whether it's just their addiction to the internet or their business, their livelihood, everything is so heavily dependent upon the cellular internet system. And if that was taken away, I mean, emergency services would be very difficult, near impossible for them to function. All sorts of things, all sorts of industries would just come to a screeching halt if the phone systems, the cell systems all went down. That's just one example. We are so heavily dependent upon a fragile system, believing and hoping and betting that it's going to be there, and believing that it's so big and strong that it's never going to fail, that we've done little to nothing over the last few decades to improve all these systems, whether it's the, you know, electric grid infrastructure, all the other utility systems, just the whole economy. You know, back in 2008, instead of letting things, you know, the chips fall where they may, that we propped it up, we bailed everything out, and we just made the problem worse. At some point, we're going to have to face all of this. We're going to have to face the fact that we have propped up such a fragile, fraudulent system. And it's going to come crashing down. And when that happens, it is my belief that it's going to be way worse than probably anything we've seen in recent history, for certain, maybe forever. Because for the first time in human history, we have such a hyper-dependent, you know, weak, no ability to survive. And I'm not saying everyone, but enough people fall into that category. And it's going to be bad. And so however you think it's going to be, however bad you think it's going to be, you should be preparing for worse. I always, you know, people ask, you know, what are you preparing for? I'm preparing for an extreme situation. It doesn't mean that I believe for certain it'll happen. I'm not out there thinking that, you know, all the absolute worst things that could happen are going to happen. I'm just preparing for the worst things. And I do my preps and my prepping plan based on the worst possible scenario I could come up with. And someone's still got Christmas lights on. And I think when you do that, it gives you a little bit better chance of surviving, because odds are it is probably going to get worse and be worse than what you think. So folks, it's not crazy. It's not crazy to think that way. I'm sure that all the times in history around the world when things collapsed, there were people ahead of time saying it's going to get bad, it's going to collapse, and people thought they were crazy. Don't buy into that. Do the things that you can to get your houses in order, to get your family, yourself, your community, whatever it is, prepared as much as possible. Because however bad that you think it's going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to get worse, folks. All right. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.